Hello, my name is Alistair Lobo, and it's my privilege today to be interviewing Nicholas Charles, the author of the best-selling book, The 4 Fundamentals of Family Prosperity. And I'm really interested to get his slant on how family prosperity advisors are very different to traditional professional advisors, financial advisors, lawyers, these kinds of people, and actually how in fact he can team up with people like that to the benefit of all. So Nicholas, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Alistair.
And I think the book's fantastic. I really love the content, and it's a great, really insightful read.
Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, no, it's very good. And just to ask you some questions really about, because the first thing, as soon as I heard the words family prosperity, I was thinking, oh, this must be about financial advice and saving. And then obviously when I read the book, it's nothing to do with it. It's like, getting your children to appreciate the wealth and having a family vision that kind of brings a tear to your eye. And I thought, well, financial advisors don't do this and lawyers don't do this. So obviously you're trying to get the same thing though, because I think most IFAs and most accountants, which is your background, and most lawyers and professional advisors, that's what they want. They actually want family prosperity. So can you just describe how what you do is very different and how it complements what these other people do?
Yeah, that's, again, really good question. Thanks for that, Alistair. So essentially, family prosperity deals with the fundamental issues that are facing families today and why the horrendous statistics are out there. So very few people understand or appreciate that 70% of families will lose their wealth within just 2 generations, and more than 90% of families will lose their wealth within 3 generations. It's a horrendous statistic. And the question should therefore be, well, we have all this amazing professional advice. We've got some great lawyers, especially in this country, great lawyers. We've got some great financial advisors. Banks are decent. I don't want to promote them too much, but we've got a good banking system. We've got the trust. We've got trusts in place. We've got a sound legal background in this country. Stable legal background. So why are families failing? And that gave me an insight. It gave me the curiosity to find out more about the real reasons why families fail. And it's not because of poor professional services. So we don't see regularly stories in the media about the financial advisor that ran away with all the family's wealth. It happens, but doesn't happen as often nowadays.
In your book, you actually say that 90% of families lose their wealth. And then that was a pretty alarming statistic, I thought.
Yes, it's actually more than 90% will lose their wealth. This has been backed by Forbes magazine, who did a study on the richest families back in 2014. And it was uncovered that, yes, less than 10% were actually 3rd generation wealth. And this was a study of multiple families. And 2/3 were 1st generation still, just under 20% were 2nd generation, and less than 10% were 3rd generation, with a balance of about 2-3% being 4th generation or more. So that's a statistic backed by fact. And the reasons, again, while we try to communicate with families and what we're trying to get out there is, what are the real reasons why families fail? So there was a piece of research that was done by the Williams Group, Roy Williams and Vic Pricer, consisting of 3,250 families over a 25-year period, to uncover the real reasons why families fail. And the results were surprising, to say the least. Now, over 60% of those families fail because of poor communication. 25% of those families fail because of the lack of preparing the heirs to receive the wealth, which creates issues such as poor, no appreciation of the money that's being received. 10% of those families fail because of a lack of a purposeful, inspiring vision for the family. And 5% of those families fail because of what can only be described as other reasons. And other reasons being poor tax advice, poor legal advice, poor investment and financial advice.
So that's only 5% of the reasons.
5% of families failed because of those reasons. Yet what do 99.9% of professional advisors focus on?
Well, obviously,
investment advice, tax advice, legal advice. mean, it's a staggering statistic. So when I looked at this per se, my question was, well, what do we need to do to help families? Clearly this research helped, and what we've now created is what we call the 4 fundamentals of family prosperity. And we work directly with financial advisors and lawyers and accountants to help facilitate and ensure that the families are in place to make sure that their wealth lasts for not just one generation, but for multiple generations.
So just to get it clear, so what you do as family prosperity advisors has nothing to do with, you don't do legal advice, you don't do financial advice, you don't do any form of traditional professional advice. It's things like helping the family get clear about their vision. It's about setting up communication structures and empowering the family to communicate more effectively.
Yes, I mean, I can tell that you've definitely read my book, Alistair. Thanks for that. But essentially what we do when we work with all families is the most important thing is we find out what the problem is. So we've created a very detailed diagnostic that uncovers the risk to the family's wealth based on research and based on what they tell us. And through those answers, we'll create a report for that particular family, and we tell them the areas that they need to work on and the areas that will cause their family to fail financially over multiple generations. Whether it's 2 generations or 3 generations, we obviously can't predict that, but the likelihood is that it will fail. And again, let's go back to those statistics. 70% of families lose their wealth in 2 generations, and over 90% of families will lose their wealth in 3 generations. And that's irrespective of how much money they have. You are never too big to fail. And what we try and do is, yes, we love working with families, we love working with their advisors as well. Because good advisors, clearly good advisors, want to make sure their families succeed. I've never been to any advisor and said, do you want your client to fail? And they've said, yeah, of course we do. I mean, no one's going to, of course they don't want to do that. More importantly, even on a business sense, if the family is successful financially, they'll have more money to look after. Or, the family will be able to pay their fees. I mean, it goes without saying, you can't help a bankrupt client. Yeah. And when I speak to advisors and I explain to them, the risks to the family wealth, they seem that they get it. They clearly understand this is an issue. And of course, the good advisors out there have a working and emotional relationship with their clients, because the accountable advisor cares about their client. They want their client to succeed, and more importantly, they want to establish themselves as that family advisor. And what we do through the Charles Group is we help facilitate that. We help the professional advisor move from being an individual's advisor to being the family's advisor. Yeah. Establishing the link and almost bridging the gap between the advisor and the entire family. Now, why is that important? Well, what do advisors fear? What are advisors worried? They're worried about losing their client. And what's the number one guarantee that you'll lose your client? When they pass away.
Yeah. Is
that an issue? Of course it's an issue, because if your client passes, you lose your client. And unfortunately, the inevitable will happen. Yeah. Now, if you've only got a relationship with that one particular client, you are gambling and almost blindly hoping that the family will come to you just because you are mother's advisor or father's advisor or husband's advisor or brother's advisor. Now, if you haven't established yourself as the family advisor and only established yourself as that single individual's advisor, there's very little chance that the family will come to you. Yeah. Why? Why should they come to you if they've got no working relationship with you whilst father, mother, brother, sister was alive?
So if they were involving a family prosperity advisor if they worked in tandem with someone like you, they would have that relationship, obviously. And I guess that they even have a relationship with some of the other professional advisors of the family as well, because they get to meet them.
Yes, of course. I mean, one of the services we offer to our clients is an AGM of professional advisors. Now, AGM, you're instantly assuming, an annual general meeting with shareholders. It's the same idea, but in fact, what this is, it's a round table meeting once a year between the family and those within the family that want to, step up and have a working relationship with the professional advisors and the professional advisors. And at that meeting, which we help facilitate, we ensure that the the message, the family's vision is communicated effectively to all the professional advisors. And it gives the professional advisor the scope, the platform, shall we say, to be made accountable. Now, all great professional advisors want to be made accountable to their clients. Why? Because it enables them to show to their client how good they are, what they're doing to help them, what investment advice they've given them if it's the financial advisor, how their investments have worked over the years, or how great the tax advice is, the trust setup with the trustees, for example, what legal advice that they've been given. And whilst working together, always generates greater business. Because if you genuinely want to service the client, it's imperative that you work with the other advisors. And if you're not given a platform to work with the other advisors, it's very difficult to do so. But if you're sitting in the meeting and and you've got the investment advisor there, you've got the trustees there, you have the accountant there, the tax advisor, the lawyer, then it gives you an opportunity to work concise to make sure that if you are the financial advisor, that it's tax efficient because the tax advisor's there. To make sure that everything's done legally, I don't know, for example, the wills, for example, make sure that everything that you've advised on is included in the will. Well, if the lawyer's there, he's going to let you know, or you're going to let them know. Make sure that, understand the business. The accountant's going to be there, so he's going to explain to you how the business has performed over the last 12 months. And now all of a sudden, you've got a team working for the family. And more importantly, you're showing the family how wonderful you are. It gives you an opportunity to be proactive and to show the family, to almost showcase, that you genuinely care about that family.
And I guess you're also getting to showcase what you can do with all these other different types of professional advisors.
Yeah, of course. I mean, how much off-spin business are you going to get when, if the lawyer is all of a sudden asked by their client, would you recommend us a financial advisor? Who are they going to recommend? Someone they think is good or someone they've got an active working relationship with.
And vice versa.
Of course, vice versa.
If the financial advisor is thinking of needs a lawyer or one of his clients needs a lawyer, then
it's the best type of networking. You are working together to showcase your skills to other professional advisors, and the likelihood of you getting introductions, larger or smaller, if you're working with someone directly. Surely it's going to be larger. Surely it's going to be greater.
And I suppose the other thing is that you're wowing the client, really, aren't you? If you're a traditional professional advisor and you're bringing along a prosperity advisor along who's going to do all the things that traditional professional advisors don't do, that are going to also help the family in a really big way, I guess the fact that you're bringing that person along is going to make a big difference. I mean, I guess if they just gave them the copy of the book, it would...
Yeah, I mean, be proactive. I mean, if you know that you're working with a high net worth family and you want to showcase that you genuinely care about the family, get them a copy of the book. It's not going to break the bank. I'll be brutally honest with you. Give them a copy of the book and say, you know what, we think this is important to you. We genuinely care about your family. We know, you're worth X amount. We know that you clearly got children. Please read the book and understand the problems that you're going to be facing as a family. It's a great way to facilitate a conversation. Be proactive. Rather than getting a bottle of champagne at Christmas, give them a bottle of champagne and a copy of our book. And by all means, facilitate that conversation with your client. The question is, you as an advisor, do you genuinely care about the welfare of your client? If the answer is yes, give them a copy of our book. If you want to take it to the next level, then have an open meeting. Be there whilst we have a conversation with your client. Worst case scenario, they'll say, thank you very much for letting us know about this, and do nothing about it. It's a win-win situation. Best case scenario, you're going to save that family from financial disaster.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, Alistair. Thank you.